Openings, attention grabber, friends, life is like a bank account. You keep depositing your time, your energy, and your efforts every single day. And one day when you look back, the balance will simply show what you worked for and how you worked for it. The truth is, your work doesn't just fill your pockets, it defines your personality, your relationships, your happiness, and even your legacy. You see, friends, every single morning when you wake up and step out of your home for work, you are not just going to a job, you are walking into a training ground, a space where your character is built, where your discipline is tested, where your patience is stretched, and where your personality is polished. Whether you realize it or not, your work is silently shaping you into the person you are becoming. Think about this. A student who studies sincerely every day doesn't just become knowledgeable, they become disciplined. A homemaker who wakes up early to take care of the family doesn't just cook meals. She builds responsibility, resilience, and selfless love. A bus driver who drives the same route every day with a smile isn't just taking people from one stop to another, he's building humility and patience. Our work, whatever it is a mirror. It reflects who we are, and even more importantly, it molds who we can become. Let me share a simple story. Once, in a small village, there was a young boy who worked as a helper at a tea stall. Every day, early in the morning, he would clean the cups, wipe the tables, serve tea, and even smile at every customer. Most people thought, what's the big deal? He's just a helper. But that little boy learned something precious. He learned to value time, to serve others with humility, to greet people with respect, and to never be ashamed of hard work. Years later, that same boy grew up to be an inspiring leader because those small habits, built through his daily work, had shaped his character. Work is never small, friends. What makes it big is the attitude with which you do it. You can either complain and say, why me? Why do I have to do this? Or you can say, this is my chance to grow, to improve, to build my inner strength. Look at a farmer. Every single day, under the scorching sun or in pouring rain, he goes to the field. He tills the soil, plants the seeds, waits patiently for the harvest. That work teaches him discipline, because crops don't grow overnight. It teaches him faith, because he knows nature will do its job if he does his. And it teaches him perseverance, because even if one season fails, he is back at it the next season. Isn't that incredible? His work is not just giving us food, it's making him a man of unshakable character. Even in our modern corporate world, the same truth applies. Someone who takes ownership of their tasks, who shows up on time, who delivers their best without shortcuts, that person is not just earning a salary, they are earning respect, trust, and strength of character. People around them see them as dependable, and more importantly, they themselves start seeing their own value. Do you know why some people remain calm, even in chaos? It's because their daily work has trained them to handle pressure without breaking. Think of a doctor in an emergency room. He doesn't panic when multiple patients arrive at once. Why? Because his work over the years has shaped his ability to stay composed, focused, and compassionate under stress. That calmness isn't natural. It's built through the way he approaches his work every single day. And here's the beauty of it. You don't have to love your work for it to shape you. You just have to do it sincerely. Maybe you don't like the job you have today. Maybe you wish you were somewhere else. That's okay. But while you are here, give it your best. Learn discipline, learn patience, learn to manage your emotions. Because tomorrow, when you move on to something better, these qualities will move with you. Remember, this work doesn't just give you money, it gives you muscles, not the ones you see in the mirror, but the ones you feel in your soul. Muscles of patience, muscles of resilience, muscles of gratitude. And those muscles will carry you through every season of life. I often meet people who say, I want to be successful. And I tell them, first, build the character that success can rest upon. Because success without character is like a building without a foundation. It collapses. Your work, every small task, every big project is laying that foundation brick by brick. Take the example of Sachin Tendulkar. People admired his talent, but what made him a legend wasn't just his batting skills, it was his work ethic, hours and hours of practice, discipline in his lifestyle, humility despite fame. His work didn't just make him a great player, it made him a great human being. So, my friends, the next time you feel your work is too small or too routine, remind yourself, it is not about what you are doing, it is about what it is doing to you. Every file you organize, every email you send, every brick you lay, every customer you help, all of it is shaping your inner world. And one day when you look back, you won't just see the paycheck or the promotions. You'll see how your work made you more patient, more disciplined, more humble, and more human. That is the real reward of work. So, embrace your work, respect it, show up with your best attitude, even on the toughest days. Because whether you realize it or not, your work is silently carving the masterpiece called you. Friends, let's dive deeper into this truth. Your work defines your relationships. The energy you carry from your workplace doesn't stay there. It travels with you to your home, your family, your friends, and even into your own thoughts when you sit alone. Imagine this. You've had a terrible day at work. Deadlines piled up, your boss shouted, a client was unreasonable. Now, when you step into your home, what do you bring with you? Often, frustration, irritation, a short temper. The people at home, your parents, your spouse, your children, they didn't cause that storm, but they feel the rain. And slowly, without you even realizing it, your relationships start reflecting your professional stress. But it can work the other way too. Picture a person who has found meaning in their work. They might still have long hours or demanding tasks, but they see their efforts as purposeful. When they walk into their home, they bring a lighter energy, a calmer mind, and a kinder tone. The same home, the same people, but a completely different atmosphere. That is the power your work holds. It can either drain your relationships or enrich them. Think about the teacher who loves teaching. She spends her day explaining concepts, solving doubts, and encouraging students. When she comes home, that nurturing attitude doesn't switch off. She naturally listens more, supports her family, and brings warmth into the house. On the other hand, imagine someone who dislikes their job. Every small problem feels like a burden. They come home carrying complaints, snapping at everyone. Over time, the family starts walking on eggshells around them. The difference is not in the family, it's in the energy that the person's work is creating inside them. There's a beautiful story about a carpenter who worked tirelessly but without love for his craft. He would cut corners, rush his tasks, and complain about every assignment. One day, his employer asked him to build one last house before retirement. The carpenter reluctantly agreed, but again did a rush job. When the house was completed, the employer handed him the keys and said, "This house is my gift to you." The carpenter was shocked. He had built his own house poorly. This is exactly how our work affects our relationships. The house we build through our attitude at work is the same house we live in with our family and friends. Work is not just about earning, it's about learning how to deal with pressure, people, and problems. And those lessons, whether you realize it or not, are lessons you carry home. For instance, a person who learns patience dealing with clients will naturally have more patience when their child makes a mistake. A manager who learns to handle conflicts at work without anger will handle family disagreements with more maturity. Your workplace is a training ground for the kind of partner, parent, or friend you become. Think of someone in your life who radiates positivity. Maybe it's a colleague, maybe a relative. Notice how they speak, how they smile, how they listen. That's someone who has found a way to make peace with their work. They might not have the easiest job, but they have chosen to see their work as a platform to grow, not just to earn. That choice spills into their relationships, making them more approachable, more loving, and more reliable. There's another side to this. The pride you feel when you're doing meaningful work. It builds confidence, and confidence builds healthier relationships. When you know you're doing something valuable, you carry yourself with a quiet strength. You don't need to prove yourself in your relationships. You don't need to demand constant validation. That calm confidence allows you to love more freely, without insecurity. And let's not forget the opposite. If you feel trapped or unfulfilled in your work and never address it, you may find yourself carrying resentment. And that resentment can poison the sweetest relationships. Many families struggle, not because they don't love each other, but because someone in the house is bringing home the anger and helplessness they feel at work. So, what's the way forward? It doesn't mean you have to quit your job or wait for the perfect role. It means you change your relationship with your work. Start seeing it not just as a means to pay bills, but as an opportunity to build qualities, patience, discipline, humility, empathy, qualities that will make you a better spouse, a better parent, a better friend. Take the example of a young man working at a call center. He used to hate his job because of rude customers. But one day, he changed his mindset. He decided to treat every angry customer as a chance to practice staying calm. Over time, that calmness became a part of him. His family noticed the change. He no longer shouted during small arguments. He listened more, and he smiled more. His work hadn't changed, but his approach had. And because of that, his relationships flourished. This is the gift of work when approached with the right mindset. It teaches you how to handle pressure without breaking, how to deal with difficult people without losing your peace, and how to give your best even when no one is watching. These lessons make you a person others want to be around. someone whose presence brings comfort rather than tension. So, the next time you step out for work, remember this: you're not just earning for your family, you're shaping the way you show up for them. If you give your work your best attitude, even if the circumstances aren't perfect, you'll come home with a lighter heart, a calmer mind, and a kinder tone. And over time, your relationships will become a reflection of the peace and purpose you've built within. Because, friends, at the end of the day, your job will change, your office will change, but the people who love you, your family, your friends, they are your constant. Let your work be a source of strength for those relationships, not a source of strain. That is when you'll truly understand that your work doesn't just define your life. It defines the love and harmony in your life too. ChatGPT said, friends, let us talk about a profound truth. Hard work builds respect, not just income. Money is important. We all know that. It pays the bills, buys comfort, and supports our families. But pause for a moment and think, when people talk about you, do they only mention how much you earn? No. They talk about your dedication, your sincerity, your honesty, your character. Money may open doors, but respect keeps those doors open, and that respect is earned day by day through the way you work. Imagine a simple tailor in a small town. He doesn't have a fancy shop or a big brand name, but every customer knows one thing: if they give him their clothes, they will get quality stitching, neat finishing, and delivery on time. Over the years, people don't just see him as a tailor, they see him as a man of integrity. His income might be modest, but his reputation is priceless. That is what hard work does. It earns you a kind of wealth no bank can hold. Respect is not about position or title. It is about the consistency of effort, the sincerity of action, and the honesty of intention. Look around you. The people most respected in your workplace or your community are not necessarily the richest. They are the ones everyone can rely on, the ones who show up on time, deliver their promises, and never compromise their values. There is a story of a janitor who worked in a big corporate office. He wasn't earning much, and many people didn't even know his name. But one day, a power outage struck the building. The elevators stopped working, systems went down, and chaos erupted. Everyone panicked except one man, the janitor. Calmly, he guided people to safety, checked on employees stuck in elevators, and even helped restart the backup systems because he had taken time to learn them. The next day, the CEO personally came to thank him in front of everyone. In that moment, it wasn't his salary that defined him. It was his hard work, his commitment, and his willingness to go beyond his job description that earned him deep respect. Hard work has another magical quality. It gives you dignity in your own eyes. There is a quiet confidence that comes when you know you gave your best, when you know you didn't take shortcuts. That inner confidence reflects in how you talk, how you walk, and how you interact with people. And people, in turn, sense it and respect you for it. Think of Thomas Edison, who failed over 1,000 times before inventing the light bulb. When someone asked him how it felt to fail so many times, he famously replied, "I didn't fail 1,000 times. The light bulb was an invention with 1,000 steps." That mindset, that commitment to hard work, didn't just give us electricity, it gave Edison a legacy of respect that continues even today. People don't remember the salary he earned, they remember the light he brought into the world. Even in small, everyday moments, hard work shines. Picture a young delivery boy who climbs 5 flights of stairs with a smile because the elevator is broken. Or a bus driver who keeps his vehicle clean and greets every passenger politely day after day. Or a teacher who stays after school to help struggling students without expecting extra pay. These are ordinary people doing ordinary jobs in extraordinary ways and earning extraordinary respect. What's important to understand is that respect built on hard work is lasting. Money can be lost, positions can change, titles can fade. But the reputation of being dependable, sincere, and hardworking stays with you wherever you go. It's like an invisible shield that people recognize and value. Now, some people think shortcuts will get them ahead faster, and maybe in the short term they do. You might get the promotion, or the applause, or even the quick money. But respect built on shortcuts is fragile. One mistake, one slip, and it all collapses. On the other hand, when you build your success brick by brick, with consistent hard work, it creates a foundation so strong that nothing can easily shake it. There's a beautiful saying, work hard in silence. Let your success make the noise. True respect doesn't come from shouting about what you've done. It comes from people observing over time the way you show up every single day. Think of someone like APJ Abdul Kalam, the former president of India and a brilliant scientist. He came from a humble background, selling newspapers as a child, but his hunger to learn and his relentless hard work led him to become the Missile Man of India. What made people love and respect him even more was his humility and dedication. Even as president, he treated everyone, from senior scientists to security guards, with the same kindness. That respect he earned had nothing to do with his salary. It was born from his tireless effort and pure heart. And here's the secret: hard work doesn't just earn you respect from others, it earns you opportunities. People want to work with those they trust. Leaders want to promote those they can rely on. Clients return to people who consistently deliver quality. It's like planting seeds. You may not see the fruit immediately, but over time, your effort grows into a tree of opportunities and relationships that money alone could never buy. So, the next time you feel tired, the next time you wonder if your effort is even being noticed, remember this: someone, somewhere, is watching. Maybe it's your boss, maybe it's your colleague, maybe it's your child, and beyond them, you are watching yourself. Every day you show up with honesty and effort. You are building a version of yourself that commands quiet, genuine respect. In the end, friends, income will sustain your body, but respect will nourish your soul. Strive to be the person people talk about, not for what you have, but for how you worked, with integrity, with consistency, and with heart. Because hard work may not always make you the richest person in the room, but it will always make you the most respected. Friends, let us reflect on a truth that is easy to hear but hard to practice. Growth comes when you step out of your comfort zone. Comfort feels good, it's familiar, it's safe. Like sitting in your favorite chair, sipping your favorite drink, but doing the same things you know so well. But here's the thing about comfort: it keeps you exactly where you are. Growth, real, Transformative growth begins the moment you dare to step out of that safety net and face the unknown. Think about a baby learning to walk. Crawling is safe. Crawling is easy. But something inside pushes that little child to stand up, to wobble, to take that first unsteady step, even though they might fall. And yes, they do fall many times. But with every attempt, their legs get stronger, their balance improves, and before long they are running. Life is the same. Unless you're willing to risk falling, you will never learn to run. Let me share a story. There was a young man named Arjun who worked in a small shop in his hometown. He was good at what he did, and life was comfortable. One day, an opportunity came for him to move to the city and manage a bigger store. At first, he hesitated. The city was unknown, the work was more complex, and the pressure was higher. But something inside him whispered, "Take the leap." He listened. The first few months were hard. He struggled, made mistakes, and even thought of quitting. But he didn't. Slowly, he learned the ropes, built confidence, and today, Arjun runs his own chain of stores. Looking back, he often says, "If I had stayed in my comfort zone, I would still be in that small shop, dreaming but never doing." That is the power of stepping out of comfort. It transforms you. Challenges are not obstacles. They are opportunities wearing the mask of discomfort. Every time life throws you into a situation where you feel unprepared or scared, remember this: that's where growth is waiting. A seed has to crack open in darkness before it becomes a plant. A caterpillar has to struggle in its cocoon before it becomes a butterfly. Without that struggle, there is no transformation. Think of your favorite kite flying high in the sky. It doesn't soar because the wind is gentle. It soars because it fights against the wind. The resistance that seems to hold it back is the very force that lifts it higher. Life works exactly the same way. The resistance you face in your journey, the failures, the criticism, the self-doubt, are the winds that will lift you, if only you keep holding on to your string. Many of us fear discomfort because we confuse it with failure. We think, what if I try and fall? What if people laugh? What if I'm not good enough? But friends, let me tell you something: failure is not the opposite of success. It is the pathway to success. Every person you admire today, from great entrepreneurs to inspiring leaders, has one thing in common: they embraced discomfort. They stepped into situations that scared them, learned from their mistakes, and came out stronger. Take the story of Colonel Sanders, the founder of KFC. At the age of 65, when most people retire, he started traveling door to door with his chicken recipe. He was rejected over 1,000 times before someone said yes. Imagine the discomfort he went through: old age, financial struggles, constant rejection. Yet he kept going. Today, his name is known around the world, not because he stayed comfortable, but because he chose to keep trying, even when it hurt. Stepping out of comfort also builds something priceless: resilience. When you take on challenges, you realize that you are far stronger than you ever thought. The first time you give a speech in front of a crowd, your hands shake. The second time, they shake less. By the 10th time, you speak with confidence. That's not magic. That's growth. The kind that only comes when you keep showing up despite the discomfort. I remember once meeting a young software engineer who dreamed of starting his own company. But he hesitated for years because the job he had was safe. Finally, one day he took the risk. The first year was brutal. He worked late nights, made mistakes, and lost money. But he also learned about business, about people, about himself. Today, his company employs hundreds, and he often says, "The fear I felt in the beginning was the sign that I was doing something worthwhile." Growth is never a straight, smooth road. It is full of bumps, turns, and sometimes dead ends. But each experience teaches you something valuable. It teaches you patience, humility, and courage. And slowly, without you even realizing it, you become a person who can handle bigger challenges, take on bigger dreams, and inspire others along the way. The beauty of stepping out of your comfort zone is that it doesn't just change your circumstances, it changes you. It builds character, confidence, and clarity. And that change stays with you forever. Even if you fail, you carry the lessons, the resilience, and the growth into everything you do next. So friends, the next time life nudges you towards something uncomfortable, a new project, a new job, a difficult conversation, a big dream, don't shrink back. Take a deep breath and step forward. Remind yourself that every expert was once a beginner, every leader was once uncertain, and every success story started with a moment of courage. Because comfort might make you feel safe, but it will never make you grow. And growth, even when it's uncomfortable, will always take you closer to the best version of yourself. You said, friends, there is a deep joy that comes when you realize this truth. The highest purpose of work is service. Yes, we all work to earn a living, to pay bills, to support our families. And there is nothing wrong with that. But beyond that, there lies something far greater, the fulfillment of knowing that what you do in some way serves others, makes their life better, or brings a smile to their face. When your work touches lives beyond your own, it stops being just a job. It becomes a calling, a purpose, a way of leaving your mark on the world. Think about a teacher. She may teach the same lessons year after year, the same math problems, the same grammar rules, the same history chapters. But every year, there are new students in her class whose futures she is shaping. For those children, she is not just a teacher, she is a guide, a mentor, sometimes even a second parent. Her salary might be modest, but the service she provides is priceless. Years later, those students may not remember the exact equations, but they will remember the kindness, the encouragement, and the belief she had in them. That is service. Or take a doctor. His work is undoubtedly stressful, with long hours and high pressure. But imagine the quiet satisfaction when he saves a life, when a mother thanks him for treating her child, or when an elderly patient smiles in relief because their pain is gone. That feeling cannot be bought with money. It comes only from knowing that your work has meaning, because it serves others. Even the simplest jobs, when seen through the lens of service, carry profound dignity. Think of the garbage collector who shows up early every morning to keep our streets clean. He might not be celebrated in the news or honored with awards, but without his service, our communities would fall into chaos. His work is a silent service to thousands of people who may never even know his name. There is a beautiful story about a man who worked as a janitor at NASA during the 1960s when the United States was racing to put a man on the moon. One day, President John F. Kennedy visited the facility and saw the janitor sweeping the floor. The president asked, "What are you doing here?" The man smiled and said, "Sir, I'm helping put a man on the moon." That is the spirit of service, seeing the bigger picture in what you do and knowing that your work, however small it may seem, contributes to something meaningful. When your work becomes service, everything changes. Mondays no longer feel dreadful because you see your role as an opportunity to make a difference. The smallest tasks start to feel significant because you know someone will benefit from the effort you put in. A chef isn't just cooking, he is feeding hungry people, bringing families together, and creating memories around a dinner table. A driver isn't just taking passengers from one point to another, he is ensuring they reach safely, on time, and with comfort. Service also builds a sense of purpose that keeps you motivated even in tough times. When you know your work is helping someone, you are willing to go the extra mile, to work harder, to improve yourself. Because the reward is no longer just the paycheck. It is the quiet joy of knowing you have made someone's life a little easier, a little better. I once met a young man who worked in customer service for a bank. At first, he saw his job as nothing more than answering calls and solving problems. But one day, an elderly woman called, panicked because she didn't understand a banking procedure and feared losing her savings. He patiently explained the process, reassured her, and helped her fix the issue. At the end of the call, she said, "God bless you, son. You don't know how much you've helped me." That one moment shifted his perspective. He realized his work wasn't just about numbers and systems, it was about people. From then on, every call he answered, he treated as an opportunity to serve, and that changed not just his performance, but his sense of fulfillment. And here's the beauty of service. It never goes unnoticed. People may not always say, "Thank you," but they remember how you made them feel. They remember the teacher who encouraged them when they felt like giving up. They remember the nurse who held their hand in pain. They remember the colleague who stayed late to help meet a deadline. Service leaves an imprint that lasts far longer than titles or salaries. When you start to see your work as service, something amazing happens within you. You start to feel gratitude for the skills you have, for the opportunities you've been given, for the chance to contribute. And that gratitude reflects in your attitude. You become more positive, more compassionate, more committed. People start to notice that energy and they are drawn to it. Of course, serving through your work doesn't mean you have to do something grand or world-changing. It simply means doing whatever you do with the intention of adding value to others. Whether you are building software, baking bread, writing reports, or driving a cab, there is always someone who benefits from your effort. When you focus on that person, when you see the human being behind the task, your work becomes a form of love in action. And that is the highest reward of service. It fills you with a sense of deep satisfaction that no bonus or promotion can match. It makes you sleep better at night, knowing you used your time and energy to create something good for someone else. It makes you proud of your work, not because of how much it earns, but because of how much it gives. So, friends, the next time you feel bored or frustrated with your job, pause and ask yourself, Who am I serving through this work? Whose life becomes better, even in a small way, because I showed up today? That simple shift in perspective can transform your entire relationship with your work. Because when you see your job as an act of service, every task becomes an opportunity to create meaning, to build connections, and to make this world just a little brighter. Friends, one of the most profound truths of life is this: your salary will fade, but your legacy will remain. The work you do is not just about what you earn, it is about what you leave behind. At the end of the day, your bank balance will be spent, your possessions will pass to others, but the way you touched lives, the values you stood for, and the example you set, that is what people will remember you for. Think for a moment about the people you admire most. Maybe it's a teacher, a mentor, a colleague, or even a family member. Do you remember their exact salary? Probably not. What you remember is their kindness, their discipline, their dedication, the way they made you feel, and the lessons they taught you without even realizing it. That is legacy. It is built not in a single day, but in small, consistent choices made over a lifetime of work. I remember a story of a school janitor. He was a quiet man who worked for decades in the same school, sweeping corridors, repairing broken benches, and making sure classrooms were clean and ready every morning. He never held a high position, never earned a large income, but he carried out his job with such sincerity that everyone respected him. Teachers, students, even the parents. When he retired, hundreds of students, past and present, gathered to thank him. Some even said that his kind smile and encouraging words during tough times had helped them believe in themselves. That man may not have been rich in money, but he was rich in legacy. Legacy is not about how grand your title is. It's about how deeply you impact the people around you. If your work helps others grow, if your efforts create opportunities for someone else, if your kindness makes someone's day a little easier, you are building a legacy every single day, whether you realize it or not. Think of APJ Abdul Kalam, fondly called the People's President. He was a scientist, a teacher, a leader, but above all, he was a humble servant of the nation. What made him unforgettable was not just his achievements in missile technology or his tenure as president. It was his humility, his integrity, and his unwavering commitment to inspiring the youth of the country. Even after he left the highest office, he spent his time talking to students, encouraging them to dream big. Today, countless young people see him as their role model. That is the kind of legacy no title or salary can ever replace. Sometimes, people think they need to do something extraordinary to leave a legacy. But the truth is, it's the small things done with sincerity that create the biggest impact. A bus driver who greets every passenger with kindness, a nurse who patiently comforts every patient, a manager who mentors his team selflessly. These are people quietly building a legacy of respect and love every day. Legacy is also about the values you stand for in your work. Are you honest, even when no one is watching? Are you dependable, even when the task is small? Are you someone others can count on? These qualities create a reputation that outlives you. People will forget what you earned, but they will never forget that you were the person who could be trusted, who gave their best, and who lifted others up along the way. Consider the story of a young woman named Ananya who started her career in a small company. She was known for her integrity and her willingness to help others without expecting anything in return. Years later, when she launched her own business, those same people she had helped came forward to support her, offering advice, resources, and even clients. Why? Because her legacy of kindness and professionalism had built a network of trust that money could never buy. And here is something important to remember: your legacy is not built in the future, it is being built right now in the way you work today. Every time you choose to do the right thing over the easy thing, every time you treat someone with respect, every time you show up fully for your responsibilities, you are writing a chapter of the story people will tell about you long after you're gone. Even in your family, the way you approach your work leaves a lasting impression. Children watch how their parents work. They notice the dedication, the discipline, the way you handle challenges. Long after they've grown, those lessons become part of who they are. That is a legacy you pass down generation after generation. Legacy is also about contribution. Ask yourself, is my work leaving the world a little better than I found it? It doesn't have to be something earth-shattering. Maybe your job allows you to support your family and give your children an education. Maybe you help your colleagues grow in their careers. Maybe you use your earnings to help someone in need. All of these are threads in the tapestry of the legacy you are weaving. One of the greatest things about focusing on legacy is that it gives deeper meaning to your work. You stop seeing your job as just a paycheck and start seeing it as a platform to serve, to grow, to uplift, and to inspire. Suddenly, even routine tasks feel purposeful because you know they are part of something bigger than yourself. And when you think about the end of life, when the titles, awards, and salaries no longer matter, what will remain is the difference you made. People won't stand at your funeral and talk about how much you earned. They will talk about the time you helped them, the way you inspired them, and the way you made them feel valued. That, friends, is the true measure of a life well lived. So, as you go about your work, remember this: your legacy is being written in the ordinary moments of today. Every interaction, every choice, every bit of effort you put in is shaping the story people will tell about you. Strive to make that story one of integrity, kindness, and purpose. Because one day, long after your salary slips are forgotten, your legacy will still be alive in the lives you touched, in the values you stood for, and in the inspiration you left behind.